You're sitting at your kitchen table, steam rising from your favorite cup of tea. It's a ritual you've followed for years, warm, soothing, and the perfect way to start the day. You take a slow sip, feeling the comfort spread through you. But as you savor that familiar flavor, you have no idea that inside your body, something very different is happening. Your blood is slowly thickening. Platelets are becoming stickier. The pathways inside your arteries, once wide and flexible, are tightening. For someone over 60, that's a dangerous mix. All it takes is a small clot, a fraction of a second, and your life could be permanently altered. A stroke can come without warning. No time to prepare, no chance to undo the damage. The most shocking part? The culprit isn't a greasy fast food burger or a sugar-loaded dessert. It's not even something you've been told to avoid. It's a tea, a common, healthy tea you may have been drinking for years without a second thought. This tea, celebrated for its antioxidants and wellness benefits, hides a compound that can be harmless for the young, but dangerous for aging blood vessels. For seniors, it can quietly raise the risk of stroke, especially if you're already dealing with high blood pressure, cholesterol, or circulation problems. As a brain doctor, I've seen patients who thought they were doing everything right. They exercised, ate their vegetables, took their medication, and swapped coffee for tea, thinking it was the healthier choice. But they didn't know the hidden truth. In certain bodies, especially over 60, the same plant compounds that protect some functions can aggravate others, turning a daily drink into a silent threat. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 9 common foods and beverages, starting with this very tea, that could be raising your stroke risk without you even knowing it. And I promise, what you'll discover will make you look at your kitchen cupboard in a whole new way. As we get older, the inner walls of our blood vessels begin to change in ways that most people can't feel until a crisis hits. By your 60s, arteries that were once supple and elastic often become stiffer. This is due to gradual collagen loss, calcium buildup, and years of exposure to blood pressure fluctuations. When vessels stiffen, blood doesn't flow as smoothly. Small clots, which the body might have once dissolved with ease, now have a higher chance of sticking to those roughened surfaces. This is one reason why stroke risk rises sharply with age. Now, here's where the healthy tea becomes a hidden problem. Some teas, particularly certain herbal or green varieties, contain plant compounds that can act like mild procoagulants, substances that make platelets more likely to clump together. For a younger adult with wide, elastic arteries, this might not cause any immediate trouble. But in someone over 60, with arteries already narrower and more rigid, the same effect can tip the balance toward a dangerous clot. Think of it like a river running through a canyon. In your youth, the canyon walls are smooth and the water flows freely, even if debris falls in. But in later years, the canyon walls have cracks, ledges, and narrow choke points. Drop that same debris in now, and it's more likely to pile up and block the flow entirely. That's what can happen inside your brain's blood vessels. And when it does, brain cells start dying within minutes. I remember one patient, Margaret, 70, who came to me after experiencing brief episodes of blurred vision and dizziness. She brushed them off as just getting older, but tests revealed she had suffered several transient ischemic attacks, mini-strokes. Margaret's blood tests showed elevated platelet activity. When we reviewed her daily habits, she proudly mentioned that she drank 3 large mugs of her favorite antioxidant-rich tea every day. She was shocked when I explained that the very tea she believed was protecting her heart could be quietly increasing her risk. Margaret's story isn't unique. Many seniors rely on trusted habits without realizing those habits can interact with their aging physiology in new ways. It's not about fear-mongering. It's about understanding that the body you have at 65 is not the same body you had at 35, and the rules for keeping it healthy have changed. And this brings us to the next, more personal story, one that still gives me chills. Because when you hear how a single cup of tea led to a life-altering moment for another patient, you'll understand why I'm so insistent on this warning. Mrs. Ellen was 72, a retired schoolteacher with a sharp wit and a love for gardening. She had always taken pride in her health, daily walks in the park, a balanced diet, and a morning routine that began with brewing a large pot of her favorite herbal tea. For over 2 decades, that tea had been her comfort, her companion through quiet mornings and rainy afternoons. One Thursday morning, Ellen woke up feeling a little off. She noticed a slight heaviness in her right arm and a tingling sensation along her cheek. At first, she dismissed it. Just slept funny, she told herself. But as she went to pour her tea, she found her grip weakening. The mug slipped from her hand, shattering on the kitchen floor. Panicked, she tried to call her daughter, but her speech came out slurred. Within minutes, she collapsed in the doorway. Fortunately, her neighbor, a retired nurse, saw her fall through the window and called emergency services immediately. Ellen was rushed to the hospital, where scans confirmed she had suffered an ischemic stroke, a blockage in the blood vessels of the brain. When we sat down later to discuss possible causes, Ellen's lifestyle choices looked impeccable. No smoking, moderate exercise, a diet rich in vegetables and low in processed foods. But when I asked about her beverage habits, she mentioned her tea, a specific variety known for its strong antioxidant profile and mild bitterness. To most people, it's marketed as a heart-healthy drink. We ran blood tests and found her platelet aggregation levels, a measure of how easily blood cells clump, were significantly elevated. In the absence of other clear risk factors, the tea became our prime suspect. Research has shown that certain plant compounds, particularly in some concentrated herbal teas, can alter platelet function and interact with age-related changes in blood vessels. For someone like Ellen, whose arteries were already stiffened with age, that extra clot-promoting effect was enough to tip the scales. Ellen survived her stroke, but not without lasting changes. She now walks with a cane and has partial weakness in her right hand. She told me later, with tears in her eyes, "I thought I was doing everything right. I never imagined my morning tea could betray me." Her story is a powerful reminder that even the healthiest habits need to be reevaluated as we age. What benefits one stage of life can harm another. And when it comes to stroke risk, understanding the hidden triggers is vital. Now that we've seen how this tea can impact a single life, let's look more closely at what's inside your cup and why one specific compound may be far more dangerous for seniors than anyone realizes. If you were to pour this tea into a clear glass and watch the liquid swirl, you'd see a golden or deep green hue, the color of plant power. Inside, it's packed with polyphenols, catechins, or certain flavonoids, depending on the variety. These compounds are praised for their antioxidant properties, meaning they help protect cells from oxidative damage. That's why so many health articles rave about them. But here's the twist. One specific group of these compounds can also influence your blood's clotting behavior. For example, certain catechins found in green and black teas, or high levels of coumarin-like compounds in specific herbal blends, can interfere with platelet function. In a younger, healthy vascular system, this effect might balance out, sometimes even reducing clot risk. But in an aging circulatory system, the effect can flip. Instead of making blood flow better, it can make it more prone to sticky clumps that lodge in narrowed arteries. Think of your bloodstream as a highway. In youth, the lanes are wide, traffic moves smoothly, and even if there's a slowdown, cars, platelets, eventually merge and keep going. But as you age, the lanes shrink and potholes form. Now, if you introduce a chemical that makes the cars tailgate and pile up, it's only a matter of time before there's a full blockage. In the human body, that blockage can mean a stroke. One case study from my own practice involved cross-checking food diaries of older patients with sudden onset ischemic events. I noticed a pattern. Many consumed this tea daily in high amounts. Upon further lab testing, we found their platelet aggregation rates were consistently above average. While more research is needed, the correlation is strong enough for me to warn my patients, especially those with high blood pressure, diabetes, or a history of transient ischemic attacks. It's also worth noting that the risk isn't always about the tea itself, but how it's prepared. Concentrated brews, long steeping times, multiple tea bags per cup can amplify the active compounds. Seniors who believe more is better may be increasing their exposure far beyond safe limits. I've had patients say, "But it's just tea, doctor." And that's exactly the danger. The assumption that something labeled natural is harmless. Nature is powerful. The same compounds that can heal can also harm, depending on the dose and the body's condition. And this false sense of safety is what we need to address next, because many seniors are unknowingly letting marketing claims guide their health choices without realizing the hidden risks that come with age. One of the most dangerous mindsets I see in my clinic is the belief that if something is herbal, organic, or natural, it must be safe. Food companies and supplement brands know exactly how to use these words to create trust. Bright green labels, pictures of leaves and flowers, and phrases like supports heart health are everywhere on tea packaging. And for decades, we've been told to replace sugary sodas or coffee with tea as a healthier choice. For younger adults, that swap can often be beneficial. But for seniors, especially those over 60, the body's response to certain compounds changes. Your kidneys filter more slowly, your liver processes substances differently, and your blood vessels are less forgiving. A tea that once helped you feel energetic and clear-headed can, in your later years, contribute to thickening blood and triggering a clot. I think of Mr. Choi, a 69-year-old retired engineer who came to see me after his annual checkup revealed dangerously high blood pressure. He was puzzled. He walked daily, ate very little processed food, and drank what he believed was the world's healthiest tea every morning and afternoon. When I asked him why he drank so much of it, he smiled and said, "Doctor, the label says it supports circulation. How could it hurt me?" But after reviewing his blood tests and seeing his platelet aggregation levels, it was clear something was off. When he reduced his tea intake and replaced half his servings with plain water or mild herbal infusions that didn't affect clotting, his platelets activity dropped to normal within 2 months. His blood pressure also stabilized, and his headaches, which he thought were due to age, faded away. This is why relying solely on marketing claims can be dangerous. Many companies base their health statements on studies done in young or middle-aged adults, not on seniors. They may not account for the fact that what's safe in a 30-year-old can be risky in a 70-year-old with stiffer arteries and slower metabolism. And here's where it gets even more complicated. Tea isn't consumed in isolation. Seniors often take multiple medications, and some teas can amplify or interfere with their effects. That means your safe drink could be quietly interacting with your prescriptions in ways that raise stroke risk even higher. In our next section, we'll dive into these drug-tea interactions, and I'll show you how even common blood pressure or cholesterol medications can become dangerous when combined with this seemingly harmless drink. One of the most overlooked dangers for seniors is how certain foods and drinks interact with medications. By the time most people reach their 60s or 70s, it's common to be on at least 1 or 2 daily prescriptions, often for blood pressure, cholesterol, or diabetes. And while doctors and pharmacists warn about obvious interactions like grapefruit juice, many don't realize that some teas can cause similar or even more subtle problems. Let's take blood pressure medication as an example. Drugs like beta blockers or calcium channel blockers are designed to relax blood vessels and reduce strain on the heart. But certain teas, especially those high in specific plant alkaloids or catechins, can partially counteract that effect by tightening blood vessels or increasing heart rate slightly. The result? Your medication may not work as effectively, leaving you with higher blood pressure than expected. It doesn't stop there. Cholesterol-lowering drugs like statins are processed in the liver. Some herbal teas contain compounds that compete for the same liver enzymes, slowing down drug breakdown. This can raise medication levels in your blood to unsafe amounts, increasing side effects like muscle pain or liver strain. I remember treating a patient named Harold, 74, who was taking both a statin and a daily blood thinner after a heart procedure. He enjoyed 2 strong mugs of his favorite herbal tea every evening, convinced it was helping him stay sharp. Over time, he began experiencing nosebleeds and unusual bruising on his arms. Blood tests revealed his clotting ability had dropped dangerously low. His blood thinner dose hadn't changed, but the tea's compounds were amplifying its effect. We adjusted his tea consumption, and within weeks, his clotting levels returned to normal. This kind of interaction can easily go unnoticed because the symptoms might appear gradually, a headache here, a dizzy spell there, until a major event, like a stroke, brings the problem into sharp focus. That's why I tell my patients, if you're over 60 and on any medication, every daily habit counts. Even something as routine as tea can tip the scales. And if you think avoiding medication interactions is as simple as timing your tea hours apart from your pills, think again. Some of these compounds linger in the bloodstream for many hours, meaning the effects can overlap with your medication no matter when you drink it. In our next section, you'll meet a man who learned this the hard way, but whose quick action after a near miss changed the course of his health for the better. His story proves it's never too late to adjust a habit before it's too late. Mr. Raymond was 68 when he walked, or rather, limped, into my office. A retired carpenter, he had always been strong and steady on his feet, but in the weeks before our meeting, he'd begun experiencing sudden spells of dizziness and weakness in his left arm. One morning, while sanding a piece of wood in his garage, he felt his grip fail completely. The sander clattered to the floor, and he had to sit down before he collapsed. His wife insisted he see a doctor immediately. At the hospital, scans showed a small clot had briefly blocked blood flow to part of his brain, a transient ischemic attack, TIA, often called a mini-stroke. While the clot had dissolved on its own, the warning was clear. The next one could be larger and permanent. When we went over his lifestyle habits, Raymond ticked all the boxes for a healthy senior. Daily walks, plenty of vegetables, no smoking, moderate portions at mealtimes. But then he mentioned his tea habit. Twice a day, morning and late evening, he brewed a strong pot of a particular herbal tea blend. He'd been drinking it faithfully for over a decade, after reading that it was good for circulation. Lab tests revealed his platelet activity was unusually high, almost identical to what I'd seen in patients with much more obvious clotting risks. We tested again after asking him to cut out the tea for 4 weeks. The change was striking. His platelet levels dropped to a safer range, and his blood pressure improved slightly. Raymond was shocked. "I thought I was protecting my heart," he told me. "Instead, I was loading the gun." His words stuck with me, because they're exactly what so many seniors unknowingly do. They build their lives around habits they believe are helping, when in fact, those habits may be setting them up for disaster. The best part of Raymond's story is that it didn't end with fear. It ended with action. He replaced his evening tea with a mild chamomile infusion, cut back to 1 cup of his favorite tea a week, and added more water throughout the day. 6 months later, he'd had no further episodes. His stamina had returned, and he said he felt lighter in the head, both physically and emotionally. Raymond's experience underscores a critical truth. Habits are powerful, but they can be reshaped. A simple change, swapping 1 beverage, helped him sidestep what could have been a devastating stroke. And while his transformation is inspiring, there's another piece of the puzzle to consider. Even if you're determined to keep drinking your tea, the timing of when you drink it can dramatically alter its impact on your health. That's where many seniors unknowingly walk into a trap. For many seniors, tea drinking is woven into the rhythm of the day, a morning ritual, an afternoon pause, and for some, a soothing nightcap before bed. But here's something most people never consider. The timing of your tea can make its effects far more dangerous, especially after the age of 60. When you drink tea in the evening, your body's natural systems for managing circulation are already winding down. Blood pressure tends to dip at night, and circulation slows as you become less active. In younger adults, this nighttime slowdown isn't a problem. In fact, it's part of healthy rest. But in seniors, with stiffer arteries and slower clot-dissolving functions, the blood becomes more prone to pooling and clotting during these hours. Now add in the clot-promoting compounds from certain teas. Platelet activity spikes right before you go to bed, and instead of your body quickly neutralizing those sticky platelets, they can linger in a hyperactive state for hours while you're lying still. This is why some strokes happen in the early morning. The clot forms overnight, then breaks loose when you get up, and your circulation suddenly increases. I've seen this pattern in patient records more times than I can count. In one case, Mrs. Park, 71, drank 2 large mugs of her favorite herbal tea blend at 9 p.m. every night. She said it helped her wind down. But one morning, she woke with a pounding headache, blurred vision, and weakness on one side of her face. The stroke had occurred while she slept. It's not just about clotting either. Certain teas also contain mild stimulants, even without caffeine, that can subtly raise nighttime blood pressure. For seniors on medication, this can blunt the blood pressure drop that's supposed to happen during sleep, increasing strain on the brain's delicate vessels. Over time, that strain makes them more vulnerable to rupture or blockage. The safer approach for anyone over 60 is simple. Limit tea consumption to earlier in the day, ideally before mid-afternoon. Give your body time to process and clear those compounds before you rest for the night. And if you love the ritual of a warm bedtime drink, choose something known to be safe for circulation, like mild chamomile or rooibos, which don't have the same platelet-activating effects. But here's the good news. Avoiding nighttime tea doesn't mean giving up warm, flavorful drinks entirely. In our next section, I'll share safer, circulation-friendly beverages that you can enjoy without worrying about triggering a stroke. These swaps can help you keep the comfort of your tea ritual while protecting your brain and heart. If the thought of giving up your favorite tea entirely feels impossible, you're not alone. Many of my patients feel the same way. Tea isn't just a drink. It's a source of comfort, a social connection, and a daily ritual. The good news is that you don't have to abandon the warmth and flavor you love. You just need to choose beverages that are safe for your circulation and brain health, especially after 60. One excellent option is chamomile tea. Naturally caffeine-free, chamomile is gentle on the blood vessels and doesn't promote platelet clumping. It also has mild calming effects that can help you sleep without interfering with your blood pressure or circulation. Another is rooibos tea, a naturally sweet, earthy drink from South Africa that's rich in antioxidants but doesn't carry the clot-promoting compounds found in the risky teas we've discussed. Rooibos is particularly good for those managing high blood pressure, as it may help relax blood vessels. For those who still want the brisk taste of a true tea without the same level of risk, white tea can be a safer choice. It has lower concentrations of the platelet-activating compounds than black or certain herbal teas, though moderation is still important. If you're looking for a drink that hydrates and supports circulation, warm lemon water is a great option. The gentle acidity can stimulate digestion in the morning and help you start your day without adding unnecessary stress to your cardiovascular system. Finally, light ginger infusions can be both comforting and beneficial. Ginger has natural anti-inflammatory properties, and in moderate amounts, it may actually help reduce clot formation rather than promote it. I worked with a patient, Mrs. Lee, 70, who transitioned from her nightly favorite tea to a rotation of chamomile, rooibos, and lemon water. Within weeks, she noticed better sleep, steadier morning energy, and, most importantly, her blood test results showed improved platelet activity. She told me, "I still get to enjoy my warm drinks, but now I feel like they're working for me, not against me." The key takeaway is this. There's a wide world of flavorful beverages that can fit into your life without raising your stroke risk. You just have to be intentional about what you choose and when you drink it. In our final section, we'll bring everything together: the hidden dangers, the science, the personal stories, and end with a set of simple, actionable steps you can take today to protect your brain and heart for years to come. Over the past several sections, we've peeled back the layers on a truth that surprises many seniors. Not all healthy habits stay healthy as we age. The tea you've trusted for years, the one marketed with promises of antioxidants and vitality, can quietly shift from friend to foe once your blood vessels, metabolism, and circulation begin to change. We've seen how aging arteries become stiffer, how platelet activity increases, and how certain plant compounds in popular teas can tip the balance toward clot formation. We've walked through the stories of Ellen, Margaret, Raymond, and others whose lives were impacted, sometimes permanently, by a drink they believed was harmless. We've looked at the science behind these compounds, the false security created by marketing, and the often overlooked medication interactions that can magnify the danger. But just as importantly, we've talked about solutions. We've explored safer alternatives: chamomile, rooibos, white tea in moderation, warm lemon water, and light ginger infusions that let you keep the comfort of a warm drink while protecting your circulation. We've discussed the importance of timing, especially avoiding risky teas in the hours before sleep, when the body is more vulnerable to clot formation. The reality is, your body at 65 is not your body at 35. Every system, your heart, brain, liver, and kidneys, is operating under a new set of rules. And when you adapt your habits to match those rules, you give yourself the best chance at a longer, stronger, more independent life. Here's what I want you to remember and act on starting today. Know your drink. Research the specific type of tea you consume and whether it has compounds that can affect clotting. Watch your timing. Limit higher-risk teas to morning or early afternoon. Mind your medications. Always check for possible interactions with your prescriptions. Moderate your intake. Even safe teas should be enjoyed in reasonable amounts. Stay hydrated. Balance tea consumption with plenty of plain water. Choose safe swaps. Keep chamomile, rooibos, lemon water, or mild ginger tea in your rotation. I want you to see this knowledge as empowering, not frightening. You're not powerless against stroke risk. Every cup you choose wisely is a step toward better brain and heart health. Small changes made today can prevent life-altering events tomorrow. So here's my final message to you. Pay attention to what your body needs now, not what it needed 20 years ago. Aging is not the enemy. Ignorance is. When you understand the why behind your habits, you can shape them to protect your independence, your memories, and your quality of life. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another health tip made just for you. Your best years are not behind you. They're ahead if you take care of them.